All right, it's 6:02, so I think we'll get started. So I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting of the Finance Committee. Today is 3/17, and the time is 6:02. In attendance tonight from the Finance Committee is myself, Fred McGovern, Joe Vitrano, Tom Connolly, Cheryl Burke-Zarella, and
Zarella Burke.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
On tonight's agenda is acceptance of minutes, budget articles, discussion on wage and personnel amendments, reserve fund transfer, correspondence, public participation, calendar, and as may arise. So the first thing I'd like to get out of the way is the acceptance of minutes. Linda was kind enough to email those out, and I see them from.
We have two sets, right?
Yeah, there's two sets. So let's take a look here. Well, I got the three. I think we've done everything except for the Monday's meeting minutes, correct?
Right.
Correct.
So I'd like somebody to make a motion to approve the minutes from Monday, March 15th.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Drew?
Aye.
And myself is yes. So that takes care of that item. Do we have anything on the wage and personnel side? No. Any reserve fund transfers?
No.
This is going very quickly. Public, but no, the correspondence. Jumping ahead. Correspondence tonight? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, so let's get into the budget discussion. Sandy was kind enough to send out a new updated spreadsheet with all the changes from the recommends that we did on Monday. I did notice there's a couple other things on there that I was going to ask if we could take care of. I did notice that one of them was the assessor's expenses. We didn't vote on that, and I think the reason we didn't vote on that, Charlie, was because you were verifying the additional amount that you needed, and I believe we now know what that is. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, Lauren was trying to get into to Monday's meeting. So I'm going to try, but go ahead. Sorry. What was the question?
Yeah, the question was the assessor's expenses. We had that line because of the fact that we knew there was going to be an additional expense for the audit. So I believe we know the exact additional amount that we need. So I was wondering if we could vote.
Yes. So a couple of things. One, there's a specific line item called audit. It doesn't fall under the assessors.
Okay.
But yeah, I did send the offer letter from our assessor, from the auditors, so that because we're going to need to have what's called the single audit, which is for the federal money, if we get over 750,000 a year, we're going to need that additional audit. In fact, it sounds like, given what's happening with legislation in Washington, that may be the case for a couple of years. But we need 31.5.
Okay, so under the assessor's expense, I show that we have not voted on that one. So I'd like to make a motion for somebody to recommend line item 19 assessor's expense in the amount of $13,165.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote. Joe?
Excuse me, sorry, we actually did vote that on the 8th. I don't know why it's not marked, but we did vote on the 8th.
Okay.
That might be something that I missed. But
All right. So,
okay.
all right. So I was going to vote on that one, and then we were going to go back and do the audit one.
Yeah, the audit one, we didn't vote.
Okay. So it's just reversed. The letters are reversed. All right. So let's jump up to try this one again. So this should be what, $30,500?
no, 31,500.
31,500.
Are you sure, Charlie? That was the price? For some reason, I thought it was 36.5.
No, it was 26.5 plain without the single,
Okay.
and then added 5,000 for the single.
All right.
We
So
were at
31.5.
Yeah, we were at 25.5 for the year we're in now, 26.5 without the single audit next year, but 31.5 with the single audit.
All right.
Okay.
So I'd like somebody to make a motion to approve item 9 audit in the amount of $31,500.
So moved.
Or a second?
Second,
All right, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So that takes care of that one. Do we have any more information on the data processing line, Charlie?
Oh, not yet.
Not yet.
Sorry.
That's okay. We have plenty of time still.
Not really.
Well, what else haven't we covered? That, let's see.
Sorry, Sandy, could I just check? I mean, on the 317 budget update that you sent out, that line 9 is still 25.5.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's because you guys had originally were voting on it at 25.5.
Yeah,
And then Charlie said he needed to go back. So I just updated it now because you voted the
Oh, gotcha.
31.5.
okay.
Yeah.
Just not on, it's not on my screen,
Yeah.
but thanks. Okay.
Yeah, that
Yep.
was one of those outstanding items we had to circle back to.
Mhm.
So I wanted to get that one out of the way.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
And so I think that's, any other information regarding budget status? I know you sent out an email about schools. We expecting new budgets from them shortly.
I hope so, yes. I know that Silver Lake approved a budget last Thursday, Sandy. The information we got from Christine, but we haven't
On the
seen.
11th. Yep.
And I believe Halifax Elementary is supposed to be voting next week, but the agenda that I saw for Monday, I think only had a non-budget item on it. But they still have tomorrow to make any adjustments to that.
Right. So
But we don't have-
Christine has not sent me out the assessments for the vote because it did go down some, Silver Lake, but not that much. So
Right,
I'm still waiting for that information.
okay.
What about line
Sure.
40, the custodial? We never voted on that
I
one yet
think we
either.
voted, Linda, did we vote that last week?
Yeah, I
just
think,
missed
yeah, we did.
marking it. Yeah,
Okay.
Let's see, 40. Yeah, I think we did that one.
We did.
Yep.
Yeah, we- yeah.
Schools, data processing are still outstanding and it,
I think that might be it.
yeah, I think so too. Just checking. Yeah, it looks right. All right, so do you want to move over to the article discussion then?
Yep.
Okay.
If you look on the articles, FY22 articles tab,
Yep.
what I did is I took the articles that the capital planning items, I put them in the order that Charlie has them in the draft warrant, so
Okay,
that you could look at them in the same order, so it wouldn't get too confusing.
so let me just pull up. I had that up. Now it's
Yep.
up. Going back to what Charlie sent out on Thursday, the 11th, the ATM warrant draft.
Right.
I'll just open that up.
Andy, is that the same as what's in the tab for FY22 articles?
Yes, that would be the easiest thing to follow along with
Okay.
is the FY22 articles tab.
Okay,
And then,
start on line 12. Well, actually, no, line 14, A3.
right, well, yeah. No, A1 actually, right there,
Oh, okay.
Plymouth County Extension Service. That's not a capital item,
Yeah,
but it's something that you will have to vote to approve or not approve. That's the $150 that we,
Hi, sorry.
go ahead. Hi, Deb, how are you?
Hi, sorry, I'm
Hey, Deb.
sorry I'm late.
That's all right.
All right. So the $150 that we give to Plymouth County Extension Services, and it allows any Halifax residents to participate in those activities like the 4-H and different things like that. So I don't know if you guys want to just make votes as we go along, if you want to go through the Capital Planning Committee's recommendations first, I don't know whether you're gonna want to call in department heads or not, so.
Yeah, let's just go. Does anybody have a preference? I kind of like to know what was the thought process behind everything. So I mean, it looks like most everything was recommended, right? Well, at least at the time.
Right. So we were lucky this year. We had about 1.5 million for free cash,
Okay,
which allowed us to really not have to be too picky about the articles, not have to prioritize too much. So we basically, there were a couple that you'll see that we held because they had no money,
yes, I see.
and just a couple that we didn't recommend, but all right.
Sure. So like that bond for miscellaneous road work, is that like that big, huge number?
Yes.
That's not
Yes.
recommended.
Right, we don't
Right.
recommend that. That's the, last year, I think it was about 11 million he was looking for.
I can't remember what it was. It was in the millions. So
Yeah, the two articles that he had, yes.
Mhm.
yeah, because I remember last year we were trying to get a little bit more to highway, because it's one of those areas that we've been,
Right. Well, you'll see A3, the road maintenance article,
yeah.
that's usually 150,000. We've increased it to 300,000
Okay.
this year, and that
Okay.
is recommended.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to see if there was some kind of offset. 'Cause I was thinking it to myself, I'm like, seriously thought that if that was on there, that was ever going to get approved. But
Right.
millions of dollars, but I was hoping to see some additional stuff with
I think one of the reasons why Steve wants it on the warrant is to bring attention to the fact that if you wanted to get all your road work done right
This
away,
is how much it is.
This is what it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, that's good now. So should we just do them in order of like what's on the budget sheet, like A1, A2, A3?
sure.
Okay, do we need to read the article from in its entirety? From like like this. So Article A1 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of 150 for the use of the trustees for county cooperative extension services, and authorize the selectmen to appoint a town director within 15 days as provided in revised chapter 128, section 41 of the Massachusetts laws. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve Article A1 in the amount of $150?
So moved.
Second,
All right, let's do a roll call vote then. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
and Drew.
Yes.
Okay, so, and myself is a yes. That takes care of A1. A2 is the chapter 90's acceptance.
Right. We don't have the number or the chapter number on that yet, right, Charlie?
No, we don't.
All right,
Right, so-
so you could skip
Skip
that
that.
for now?
We'll skip that one, okay. A3 is the road one. Let me go pull that one up so I can read it. And that's the one that is 300,000. Let's pull that up. A3. All right, Article A3, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $300,000 for the maintenance of town roads or take any action thereon, proposed by the highway surveyor. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve A3 road maintenance in the amount of $300,000?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Lauren. Skip Lauren. Drew.
Yes.
And myself is a yes.
Can I ask a quick question?
I'm
Sure,
sorry, I
Joe.
meant to say yes. I
Is it-
All
didn't
right,
realize I was.
Lauren's a yes too. Then.
I'm
Sandy,
sorry.
Danny
Yes,
and
Joe.
Fred, so we're working off the FY22 articles in the big budget sheet, right?
Right.
Correct, yeah.
So the other sheet that you have, the separate FY22 articles 317. That's a mismatch, right?
Right, that's the capital project, capital planning committee's recommendations, just as, just a simple sheet.
Okay,
But on the one on the big spreadsheet, I actually put them in the same order as the warrant, because I felt it would be easier for you.
Got
Right,
it.
well, that's why I'm using the other sheet. That way I
but
can,
there's some that are missing from the big sheet that are on the other sheet, correct?
Yes, I
Yeah.
Like the
believe
ones
so.
that are held aren't on this sheet.
Oh, they should
Well,
be.
on here.
They're just in
Yeah.
different order.
Oh. And the only reason I'm asking is because when I do a total line on sheet 2 of the second sheet, it's 39 items. And when I do a total line over here, it's only 32.
Okay, I'd have to double check that. I didn't look at it that way today.
So for an example, maybe I'm just not seeing it, but line number 11 on the FY22 articles by itself, which is for the handicap ramp, doesn't show up on the big one.
I thought it was. It may have been
it's
missed.
8:34.
It's
Town hall.
8:34.
It
Yep,
is, yeah.
there it
it's
is.
8:34.
Yeah,
It's weird, like if Sandy, if you have it up, and I don't want to hold it up, but if you have the 2 separate spreadsheets, if you do like total up on A5 and run your cursor down to 836,
Mm-hmm.
that's the one, right?
It's the one that so Joe, it's the one that we're going from is the one that is on the same spreadsheet as the expense budget. It's just a different tab.
Got it.
That's the one we're going down. And I believe all the articles are on there. If there's something I missed, because there might be a few more on that one because they're not capital items.
Got it.
right.
So that
That's
might
what I was
be-
gonna- That's what I was gonna say. The other one is the capital planning items. There could be additional ones that are not capital planning, which is the higher total.
Got it. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm glad you asked the question, Joe. Okay, so we have A4, which is the roadwork bond. And what was the amount on that? Let's see if it's,
Nothing.
So in Charlie's warrant, he did not have an amount, and Steve didn't give me a specific amount yet either. So actually,
'cause-
Charlie has, I think he meant to have 4 million in
he
there.
has 4 million in Article A4.
Yeah.
Do we want to go with that, or are we going to wait on that one?
Have you heard any more from him, Charlie?
About the 4 million, no.
No.
The only thing I will say is that in terms of timing, the selectmen could have a special meeting sometime between March 23rd, which is our next regular meeting, and when we go to press, which would be the week of April 5th. If Steve wants to push on this, in essence, set it up so it would be, in essence, a legitimate article. The only way we can do this is by a debt, and the only way we're going to fund that debt is through a debt exclusion. Obviously, given the finances we've seen so far, there's no money available to fund principal and interest on a $4 million bond. I mean, just to begin with, we'd be principal by itself is 200,000. Probably the initial interest is 120. So we're talking a payment of 320 the first year, and that's not going to be available. So the only way to do it would be a debt exclusion, but that requires a vote on the town election ballot. And that requires a vote by the board to put it on the ballot. So I'll get in touch with Steve and see what he would like to do with the article.
So at this time, we should just bypass it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we got for A5, purchase land for municipal complex? It says hold for information.
All right, so that's what we were talking about last meeting, that they put out an RFP. Charlie put out an RFP. We're waiting to get a proposal back to see if we can purchase one or both of the lots that one's actually on Plymouth Street and then one is on South Street, in order to add land
So
to
this
the
is
municipal
the,
complex for the public safety building. So we haven't gotten any figures on that yet. So that's why we didn't, capital planning didn't make a recommendation, and
Yep.
we're just holding it. So you might want to skip that one.
okay, we'll skip that. But I think I know what building you're talking about because my mother-in-law was asking me about that one because she goes to Unitarian Church. So she's been like, what's this all about? I'm like, I don't know.
The parsonage on, yeah, on
Yeah,
South
yeah.
Street. Yep.
Yeah, she kept asking me and I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Stop asking.
Now you do.
Well, and similarly, I would, given, I suspect we don't have enough money to just pay cash, in a sense of fund it without the debt. Sandy, I mean, the capital plan committee has used most of the available free cash, right?
We have approximately 400,000 left.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see what the
So-
prices come in at then.
It might be something that we would be able to do with the remainder of the free cash and maybe some from stabilization.
Okay, well, we'll see how it comes out then. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so then we have A6, which is the assessor's recertification. Now, I know what this is, but the rest of the board probably doesn't. So you want to take it away?
Okay, so this, each year we put in approximately $18,500 into the recertification article to fund the recertification, which happens, Tom Milius, I don't know if that's every 3 years or 5 years now.
The research, you mean?
Yeah,
It's actually, I think, went to 5.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but, so this is money so that we didn't have to come up with a big sum all at once.
That's right.
Been doing it, we've been funding it this way. So it's the same article that comes up every year.
Right,
Right.
that's why I was familiar with it. Okay, so we have Article A6. I'd like to see if somebody would like to make a recommendation for Article A6 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $18,500 for the assessor's recertification account or take any action thereon.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So that one passes.
Okay. A7, I'm going to ask you to skip. It was put in by the Director of Building Maintenance, but then it was put in again by the data processing by CISA. And it's the same program, only a little more robust by CISA. So if you could just skip A7
Skip A8.
and A8, the next one will be A9, the police cruises.
Okay, so this is another one of those ones that we do every year too. So I'll just read it. Article A9, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $110,000 to purchase and equip with miscellaneous police equipment 2 new market police vehicles to use for patrol or take any action thereon. So that's the article. And we do this every year. It's been 2, right? Pretty much consistently.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we were told by
much,
the
yeah.
police chief that they have been, they did go to a hybrid.
Yep.
So that's why it's a little more expensive.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to see if somebody would like to make a motion for Article A9 as read in the amount of $110,000.
So moved.
Or a
Second.
second? All right, let's do a roll call vote then. Tom Connolly.
Aye.
Let's see, we have Joe,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and myself is a yes, so Article A9 passes. All right, let's move on to A10. New copy machine for the police station. Now I can read the article first. Article A10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $5,000 for the purchase, installation, and implementation of a new copy machine for the police department or take any action thereon. So somebody else had a copy machine last year, right?
Yes. Council on Aging.
Yep, that's right.
So it's
Joe.
I assume the price is similar to what it was last year?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so if nobody else has any questions, I'd like to see if somebody would make a motion to approve Article A10 as read in the amount of $5,000.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Let's make a roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
myself is a yes. So Article A10 passes. We have A12, GASB.
GASB. That's an actuarial study for other post-employment benefits. It's a liability study that we are required by law to have every 2 years to evaluate our liability, mostly for health insurance that we provide to retirees.
Okay, then. Let's see. I'd like to see if somebody would like to make a motion to approve Article A12 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $6,850 to fund an actuarial study of towns' paid post-employment benefits, which will allow the town to meet the requirements of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statements number 45, GASB 45, or take any action thereon.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All right, then,
Second.
second, great. Roll call vote then. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and myself is a yes, so A12 passes.
Sandy, could I ask on that one, is the 6850 the like you flat funded because it's every other year? And that's this year's portion, or is that something we won't see next year and we'll?
No,
it
we
here.
will not see it next year.
Okay, thank you.
So there's no A13, right? That was
Nope.
crossed off.
Mhm.
So A14. Article A14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $25,000 to reseal the parking lot at the Halifax Elementary School or take any action thereon. So let's talk about that one. What's up with that?
Okay. Gordon was in the meeting last night, and basically he said, pay me now or pay me later. The parking lot is starting to get in tough shape. It really does need to be resealed. The amount he gave me was actually 24/7. I'm allowing for Murphy, as Charlie would say. So I rounded it up to 25,000. It would be the whole parking lot by the for the elementary school,
All the way up to the library, basically.
not including the library parking lot, but
Yeah.
up, yeah,
From the,
The
would it go
entrance.
behind the gym as well?
Yeah. as far as I know.
Yeah, it would go, Joe, it would go around the corner behind the gym and then up to the library curbstone.
Any idea what the square footage of that is?
You didn't
No, I have
record
no
it.
idea.
I see where Joe's going on this one.
Yeah,
It, based on just a visual, knowing that parking lot, it
Mhm.
doesn't seem to be way out of whack from a construction standpoint,
Right.
right? Just from my background, it doesn't seem way out of whack. But what are they gonna do for that 25 grand? Are they gonna hot seal the cracks first and then skim over? Are they gonna reline for that? Is it include restriping?
Those are really good questions. I think that what we should do probably is hold this article and maybe have Gordon come into the next meeting. Do you feel comfortable with that?
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest. Everybody else, what do you
Yeah.
feel?
Agree.
Yeah.
I
All right,
agree.
so we're gonna skip A14 and request additional information before we proceed on this one. Which brings us down to A15, add exterior lights to the HES campus. So let me read that one.
There's no money though.
No, and
Yeah.
that's why the capital planning didn't give a recommendation, because there was no
Yes.
money.
Just wait.
So again, we should just bypass
Hold
it
it.
for now.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll go down to A16, replace kitchen flooring. So that one reads, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $23,000 to replace the kitchen flooring at the Halifax Elementary School or take any action therein.
So I did have an opportunity to tour the school with the Building and Facilities Needs Committee, and the kitchen flooring is in very rough shape. Really probably should have been done a few years ago. And I believe that they were talking about putting down that vinyl tiling. But again, if you're gonna have Gordon come in, you could hold the school, you could ask him more details. But it was in bad shape,
Yeah,
really
So it's
bad.
just the kid, it's not the entire cafeteria, it's the backside of the kitchen.
It's not the cafeteria, it's the kitchen. Yeah.
So no, again, no idea on the square footage of that. And
No,
what the
but part of
material
the
is.
price on this is the fact that there's so much heavy equipment
Equipment.
in there that needs to be moved out.
Yeah,
So that's part of the price,
okay, okay.
so,
So,
so unlike Silver Lake, they don't have their own capital planning budget or anything like that.
no,
Okay, that's what I want to check out. So I think we should probably wait again since we have
Gordon's coming in.
one. Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
All right, so let's skip then A16. Is A17 gotta be the same thing? Is that another?
A17 and A18 and A19 are all the school.
Lovely.
So, I mean, if you want to hold all the school ones and just have Gordon speak to them.
I
Good idea.
think that's a good idea. What's everybody else think?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
he could probably
Yeah.
cover 22, Sandy. I mean, he had good
Okay.
rationale for 20 as well.
Yeah,
But we
that's
could
true.
talk to him about that too, one
Yeah.
last time.
Yep. Okay,
Yeah, the access road, it doesn't. really
Actually,
tell us
yes.
Where it's going.
Right.
It is.
Right.
So the access road, I can tell you a little bit about that. Every exit of the school has a cement pad. So you go out the door onto a cement pad, but these cement pads are not connected. So then you go down into the dirt. So what they would like is a pathway that goes around the school, connecting all the cement pads, and also having that pathway go down to the playground so that it would be ADA accessible.
On
That
the
is
backside of the school.
Yes, yep, so that you would be able to connect all the way around the school, because they can't do that at this time.
Yeah.
But I think, I would agree on holding all these articles until he comes in, and he could probably bring in Matt Durkee to speak to some of these as well. I will just touch base on A20. That is the tennis court.
Mm.
And he was able to speak to that last night. And what he suggested was funding that out of the stabilization money that we had put aside for Silver Lake capital items. When Pembroke divorced Silver Lake, and
At
left
the
the
breakup.
system, when the court cases ended, we were refunded money. We took that money, it was about $312,000. We put it in our stabilization account, and we said someday Silver Lake's coming to us for a capital item, and we'll be able to use that money. We actually sort of earmarked it for Silver Lake projects. So that's what he had suggested on that Article 20. But
So
again, it'd be a good thing by having him speak to it.
yeah, because I'm interested. I know there was two options. One was a repair that would have lasted a couple of years, and one is a complete overhaul, which would be like,
Right, and this is our
This is the
share of the
overhaul.
overhaul.
that's the complete overhaul number.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, so I'm kind of interested in why in today's economic environment, they decided they didn't want to go with a temporary repair that would last like 4 or 5 years or whatever.
because they've been told that the temporary repair would only last 2 years.
Mhm.
So, I don't know. And again, whether someone could tell us different, I don't know. But I'm gonna leave it. We'll put
Oh,
a
yeah.
hold on it until
Yep.
next time.
Yep, okay, sounds good. All right, so then let's move all the way down to A21, which is repair fencing at the Vaughn Field and Police Station. Let me pull that one up. Let's see.
Okay. So
Background
that's,
on, the background on that one, guys, is if we buy new police cruisers, we have to park them somewhere else because they're getting beamed with
They need to be
baseballs.
plugged in.
That's right.
Ah, All right, so let me read the article. It's and I'll add in the amount as I read it. To see Article 821, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $5,400 for repair, reconstruction, and replacement of the fences at the Vaughn Fields at the police station or to take action thereon. So I'd like to see if somebody would like to make a motion to approve Article 821 in the amount of, as read, in the amount of $5,400.
So moved.
Second,
All right, let's do a roll call vote then. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So Article 821 passes. Let's adjust my spreadsheets. Okay, Article 822, it's the South Coast County Legal Services. That's one of those ones that we do every year.
And I will say that both of those two, we don't, I think because of COVID, they weren't able to gather the signatures. I'm going to be talking to the selectmen on Tuesday to see whether, I have to contact the groups for that matter, but I also need to talk to the selectmen whether they want to propose the article themselves. They may decide not to, especially if I don't hear back from the two groups, in which case those articles are going to go bye-bye. So I would recommend putting a hold on those two.
Okay, so 822 and 823 we will hold. 824, the stabilization account, obviously we don't know the amount yet, so that gets held.
Mhm.
What's 824 TNC use of Uber Lyft surcharge? Is that extra money that's coming?
825, yeah. So 825 is, we get some money from the state. It's a fee that's charged anytime someone in town requests an Uber or a Lyft. They pay a little fee. That fee gets sent to us and we get like $300 or
Yeah.
we
Well, we
haven't
don't-
gotten very much, maybe 400, but we need to appropriate it. We can't just spend it. So when it comes in, we are supposed to put it in an account and then appropriate it at a town meeting.
Okay.
So we don't have an amount yet, but this is what that article is.
Right,
if
so
you-
now like the stabilization account and this one, we might not actually have the real numbers until town meeting, right? Because if they vote something up that we say no or vote something down.
All right, so so the TNC number, the 825, we should have that number before town meeting. 824, we will not have that number until, we'll ask that be the last article to be moved.
Yeah.
And we will not have it till all the other articles have been voted, so that we see what money is left available.
Right, so that's like previous years at town meeting, when we all gather there, we'll do a vote on the floor to
Right.
approve that once we have the final amount. So
Mhm.
just to let the other members know, sometimes things change. They'll change things. Like if we recommend a lower amount for something and somebody comes in and says, no, they want the higher amount, we will have to huddle together and decide whether or not to vote to recommend or not recommend that higher amount and present that at the town meeting. So it's common that on town meeting, we're going to have a couple of get together.
You need to meet.
Something, and this is one of those things that we'll get together at the end of the meeting, since it's.
So quick question on that. Are we based on the environment? This is in person for the town meeting, right?
I believe it's in person like last year.
Yeah.
We had two big,
Yeah.
open areas last time.
Yeah.
I expect it'll be the same
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move down to document management, e-permitting digitalization. Let me just read this one. That is 826. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money to, which I assume would be in the amount of
$32,000.
$32,000 to purchase an e-permitting system, including but not limited to hardware, software, and any associated costs, or take any action relative thereto. All right, tell us about that one.
Tom, do you want to speak to that? Because you're more familiar with what
Yeah,
this
sure.
is.
So what what Caesar is proposing, and it makes total sense, is that we digitize every shredded paper we have in the town. Lots of towns are going to this. Everybody is going through it. It gives you all kinds of leverage on searchability and overall cost and disaster recovery. So there's lots of really good advantages to doing this. Most companies have done it. I had to do it for my last 2 employers with all of our HR records and FDA records and all of that stuff. So it's something that every town probably should go through. And once you do this and you've got them there, you get back some of the money in the sense that productivity goes way up. You can find things. It works. The only questions I suggested to Cesar is he's only getting 50 gigabytes of data, which to me is tiny. I mean, my little firm uses 4 terabytes. So I think he's got some room to negotiate either, higher data storage facilities for this. And the other thing that I think he had some pushback on is it's $90 per month per user, roughly. I think it was that right, Sandy? I mean, I think it was $150.
I think that's what it was, yes. Yeah.
So it's $90 per user per month, which is high for any cloud-based software. So I thought he had a reason to push back on that. I think what he's up against is we're doing this through Rico, and because they're our provider of these kinds of services, but they're basically a middleman to DocuWare and to the storage facility. So there's a big markup in there somewhere. So I don't know if we can, I think we should recommend it. Like, this is something we should be doing at the town, but I think you could probably do better on the price or get more functionality, because one of the specters he raised was that as different departments want to digitize, the price might go up because they would be on top of that. So I think we could there's some room for negotiation here if there's time, I think.
Yeah, my other concern is, like, I've been down to the highway department and they've been trying to, they have access databases they use and everything else like that. And they're linking up to the main building, and literally you could sit there and the clock will spin for 90 seconds.
Yeah, that's because they're on an access database. This is
Correct,
all
yeah.
cloud-based, Fred.
Right.
So
I know
it's
that. I'm just
fast.
trying to figure out what I'm getting at is, does this improve some of their issues activity wise, or are we still going to have problems where they need to pull things up and they're just
So
with the
it
clock?
should, but there's another software on the next, I think it's the next article, that will be dealing with building and fleet management. But this one, the money that he's asking for now is dealing with the regulatory boards. He's going to start with the regulatory boards and start implementing it almost right away, and then catch up with the scanning of the older material. It does include a wide printer to be able to do plans. But one of the things we did ask at capital planning was that he do go out and get more pricing, because I don't think he had looked at any other companies. Did you get
Right.
that impression?
Yeah, I got the sense this was a kind of he talked to Rico offered it. I think you raise a good point though, Fred. We should put an SLA, or we should suggest to Caesar, he put an SLA in the
Right.
agreement for response time, right? And
Yeah, I mean,
we've got to hit a
I
response
work
time
with
SLA.
travelers and we're switching to AWS and everything, and we
Right.
99.999% reliability,
Yeah,
uptime. That's the sort of stuff that I want to see before I ever kind of.
Yeah. yeah, that was the point that I made to him. My firm's on AWS now. We got 4 terabytes for about half what he's paying for 50 gigs.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking myself.
So I think it's the Rico relationship. So I think there's got to be some room to negotiate there. We need to do it, but we could probably do it cheaper or with getting a lot more bang for the buck at 32K.
All right.
Does anybody have a preference? Do you want to hold this, or you want to vote on it? Or you want to wait for more information?
I agree about more information and,
Yeah, I think so too. Look into other.
Okay.
yeah.
Do
So
we have, what's the
Comparing.
cycle time for the warrant and all of that? I mean,
So we're going to go to press the week of April 5th. However, you know, as long as, a couple of things. First, the Finance Committee doesn't have to make a recommendation on every single article by April 5th. Obviously, that's preference. That's the best practice, but there's no requirement. That's the aim, but, we don't live and die by it. Second is that even in terms of amounts, we can adjust the amounts as long as it's a reasonable adjustment. If someone came in with an article that said $10,000 and suddenly we bumped it to 100, if I'm the moderator, I'm a little bit iffy about that. If it's from 10,000 to 20,000, that's different. So we have, or vice versa on those occasions. Or even for the fact that, a sum of money, we may end up with one or more articles that simply say sum of money because we still don't have the information, though we'd like to have it. So, there are various ways of dealing with uncertainty, and you can continue to discuss the articles through April, and then at town meeting, you'll have an updated list of recommendations. Just as an example, we haven't even started negotiating the fiscal 22 union contracts. And I'm fairly sure right now in the next couple of weeks, we're not going to have an amount to put in there. Yet we'll have articles there, and I'll have to, not May 10th, certainly earlier than that, but at some point I'll have to come back to you all for a recommendation, and that will be based on an actual amount negotiated, assuming we have something. So.
Yeah, Tom, we typically meet like an hour before town meeting to deal with those sort of things. So
for the union articles, I've already put it, if I haven't said to people already, I'm telling them, we need an agreement by no later than May 2nd, which is, I know, a Sunday, but that I'm not coming to you on May 10th at 6 o'clock in the evening saying, hey, we got a settlement, here it is, say yes. No, that's not fair to you, it's not fair to the voters.
Yeah, but again, getting back to what I'm saying, Tom, we have in the past held on to things until literally an hour before town meeting because we had that much uncertainty and we weren't sure at that particular point.
Right,
So
and also the way Charlie writes an article, so if a department head is looking at one specific product, he would say equivalent to, so we're not tied into buying that one specific product. So if Caesar, we get a certain amount of money to do an e-permitting system, and he comes up with a better one that we can get for less money, he can still, that falls within the parameters of the article.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, Tom. I think it's the way to go. My biggest concern is we vote on a number. Do we know, does the employee have the incentive to go and see if you can
That's exactly my point, right? Like what's the timing on it such that, I know that Caesar will act in good faith, but I think he really can't press on this number, and maybe holding it to, with that instruction tone would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, and again, I am concerned when you mentioned that 50 gig, I'm like, no, that ain't gonna, you're gonna have, I think that you're gonna find that's not gonna be.
I have that in this machine right here. I mean,
yeah, I have
not much.
I have like 3 terabytes in my
it's not
here, so
yeah.
And when you start, it might handle everything you have right now, but when you start going back and digitizing the past stuff, it's gonna get real fast.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
So I think the assessment, we're gonna hold on this one and maybe give Caesar time to get more information. Maybe we can come
Agree.
and visit in a week or 2 weeks.
All right.
I mean, I'd be happy to talk with him myself, and Tom, you've got experience as well.
Mike, did I miss anything in that? I know Mike was there for that conversation too. I just want to make sure that we're fairly representing.
No, you hit it on the head. I think he said the only thing was that was it some town on the Cape was using the system now.
Yeah.
And he was going to reach out to them for feedback and see what they were getting.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. He's picked good software on this one. I'm worried about the next one, but I mean, DocuWare is kind of industry standard, but he's just, I think he's getting gouged a little bit that he could probably push back and get a better
They
price.
probably know they're the only game in town. That's how it works when you go to RFPs and proposals. So
yeah,
a little competition, that number cuts way down.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
So now
we'll-
827 reads like a repeat, but it's really supposed to be a work order and asset management system. Again, I don't know if you want to talk to this.
Yeah, I mean, this
Tom?
one was even, we had the same issues about price on this one, so we wanted to get more information there, because it's a fixed asset and fleet management system, and the per user, it just seemed high based on what we've seen with other fleet management systems I've had to look at. And then the other thing was the software company was taken over by a private equity firm in December. And that often causes a lot of disruption.
Yes.
Fred, you know this, right? So
Yeah.
I said, look, you got to go back and make sure these guys are stable. So that's really what we were trying to get at, was a little bit of price, and then also whether Dude Software is going to be around next week, because the PE firm that just took them over, I'm sure is going to squeeze the life out of them.
Right.
I still think that's the funniest name, Dude Software. So you want to hold 27 as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Everybody else agree?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. I wouldn't let this go, I think we shouldn't let this go too long though, so, you know, if we want to get together, Tom, myself,
They're happy
with
to.
Caesar, yeah, so, you know, since you've got experience, I'm a software developer, if maybe we could get together with him and
Sure.
see what he's proposing and that sort of stuff, so we get a better feel of,
Yeah,
And then
good
we can-
idea.
present it
That's a
to the
very good
board.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then we have 29. Let's pay COVID. Are we always paying COVID?
So, so what this article was meant for, we have been given a certain amount of money from Plymouth County, well, from the federal government through the state and through Plymouth County, was well over $1 million that we could spend on COVID-19 related expenses. Only it's a reimbursement article. So we have spent the money and put in for reimbursements, and we have not seen a lot of that money back. The fear is that some of the things might end up not being allowed, and then we were going to have to take money out of free cash to pay for the items. What I have found out in the last week is with the DOR, Division of Local Services, they're not going to hit our free cash for next year if there is still a deficit in this account. They understand that the reimbursements are slow. So they told us this year we will not be hit if there is a deficit in this grant account. So we do not have to use free cash to cover that deficit this year. They also said that we are getting more money from the ARPA, the American Rescue.
Yeah,
I can't remember all what it means, but the last bill that was just signed, we're going to be getting more money, and it's a little wider berth on what we can use that money for. So if we get refused on some of the things that we've already purchased, then we could go back and use some of that ARPA money to cover that. So there's a good chance we're not going to have to use free cash to cover it. So basically, I would not recommend this article or pass over this article.
Do
might
we
just
have to have
pull
a,
it- I think
do we-
probably just pull it from the warrant, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the easiest thing.
Yeah,
yeah, I think, yeah, 'cause we don't have a number, so I'm like,
right,
vote without a number, so.
right.
Uh,
So we'll pull that article.
All right, so we'll skip on that one. Okay, getting back to something that we might be able to do something on. 30, the new backhoe. To see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $135,000 for a new backhoe for the highway department, or take any action relative thereto. Now, I assume this goes back to last year when,
Last year he pulled it.
Yep.
We didn't have the money for it,
right,
but he still definitely needs it. The backhoe they have is very old and in bad shape, so
Is the
It's
water
only for
department
this
still
year.
borrowing it too? I know there was
Yeah.
that whole plan of the water department trying to buy the old one. Is that
Right,
still-
yeah, I'm
Right,
not
well,
sure
they
where
want to
that
do one,
stands.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Okay, well, in any case, let's see, would somebody like to make a recommendation to approve Article 30 as read in the amount of $135,000?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
yes.
Deborah,
yes,
Lauren. Lauren's
I'm
thinking.
mute again, Lauren.
Mike's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Lauren. Oh, we'll skip Lauren for a second. Drew,
Yes.
myself is a yes. So unless Lauren comes back in the next second, but so Article 820.
Sorry.
Hi, Lauren.
Oh, you can't hear me? Okay, sorry. I don't know
Now I
why
can hear
my
you.
headphones are being
Yeah, so
weird.
we were voting on Article 829, which is the actually Article 830, which is the backhoe in the amount of 135,000. You're the last one.
Yes, sorry. I heard you before. My
Okay.
headphones were being weird. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. All right, then Article 830 passes unanimously. Let's move down to 831. Let's go, let's read this one. 831. Article 831 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $85,000 for a new F-550 diesel or equivalent hook lift with dump body, sander, and plow for the highway department, or take any action relative thereto. So what do we got about this one, Sandy?
all right, so this is going to replace one of the older dump trucks. And I don't believe that this is the great big one. I think it's the mid-size, which he said is actually easier to use. And I
Mhm.
think, I don't know if anyone else can remember if he had said it was easier to get someone to drive it for them during the snowstorms. And that's why they were going with the mid-size rather than the great big one.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't need a CDL.
Right,
Right.
that's what I
Right.
was gonna say.
That's
what I
right.
thought, yes.
So you get more,
So,
yeah.
right, so he has more leeway with that. So that's what he's asking for.
Okay. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve Article 831 as read in the amount of $85,000?
So move,
Second.
Second, okay, let's do a roll call vote. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
yes.
Deborah,
I'm doing Zoom. I'll call you back.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
myself is a yes. So Article 831 passes unanimously. Okay, 832, another one that we pulled from last year, if I remember right. Let's get down to that one. Article 832, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $29,000 to replace windows at Pope Tavern or take any action relative thereto.
Right, so we did windows on one side of Pope's Tavern. And this is all the rest of the windows, it's the long side. And it's gonna be $29,000.
Any idea, Sandy, how many windows that is?
I don't remember if he told us. Do you remember if Scott mentioned the number of windows?
It was like 13.
I think it was about that.
But I wanna, that's out of memory, Joe. But we can check, but I know he did specify the number. I think it was 13.
I mean, excuse my ignorance, but are they big windows? Are they 4-foot windows?
Oh,
6-foot?
they're big windows. They're custom windows.
Yeah, these are called custom, so there's no stock window that would fit these. They're gonna have to build them custom for us.
Any idea about size wise, by any chance? If you had to guess?
Tom Milius, any idea?
I'd really be guessing. The trouble with windows is if you can get them, they become ridiculously expensive, like all construction materials.
Right.
Because I had the same reaction when he told me $29,000 for windows.
Yeah.
I said, I used to pay that for a frame for a whole
Yeah.
house.
But that's remove and replace and the materials, right?
Right, right. And the wall thicknesses are odd so that the jamb size is custom. Everything's custom about the window.
Doesn't sound crazy, $2,200 a window in and out.
Not in this market, not when you
No.
have
Not
to
with all
do.
the custom work, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, then, if nobody else has any other questions, I'd like somebody to make a motion to approve Article A32 as read in the amount of $29,000.
So moved?
Second,
Let's do a roll call vote then. Joe,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Cheryl,
yes.
Deborah,
Yes,
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and myself is yes. So A32 passes. All right, so moving down to A33.
Oh, guys, I'm really sorry. I gotta teach
Okay,
at 7 o'clock. Sorry. Have a good evening, all.
that's good. All right,
Thank
have a
you.
great night, Tom.
Bye.
Okay, A33, it reads to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $17,500 to upgrade alarm systems at the town hall, the town highway, water barn, and the recycling center, or take any action relative thereto. What do we
Well,
got?
the funny thing is the town hall doesn't have any alarms, so it will be
Lovely.
putting in something there, but the other buildings do, so it's upgrading those. Do you remember anything
Three
more on
separate
it, Tom?
locations, Sandy, right?
Pardon me?
3 separate locations.
Absolutely, yep.
That's pretty reasonable.
Especially for the town hall. 30 years ago, when I got my first set of keys, I walked up to the building, opened the door, walked in and said, oh crap, nobody gave me the alarm code. And here we are 30 years later.
All right, well, on that note,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
would somebody like to make a motion to approve A33 as read in the amount of $17,500?
So moved,
Second,
Second? Okay, let's do a roll call vote then. Joe,
yes.
Cheryl,
yes.
Deborah,
yes,
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So A33. All right, so A34 and A35 indicate they're being held for information. Is that correct?
Yes. So A34 is to get more money to repair and replace the handicap ramp to the town hall. We had a few years back, a couple of years back, appropriated $35,000 to do it, and then found out that that wasn't going to come close. It does have to be engineered, and it's going to be a concrete pour. And Scott has been trying very hard to get pricing on it. He's had companies come out and look and not ever get back to him. So he is going out to bid for the job, and hopefully we'll have a price soon, but it is something that needs to get done. It's a complicated project because they won't have that handicap ramp available, so they would have to do something temporary. So he's looking at possibly doing it on weekends, maybe closing the town hall on a Friday through a Monday so that they could do it and have a chance for it to set up and everything in time. But he has not been able to come up with a figure. So I probably would recommend holding it and
Okay.
seeing what we get.
Now, is that figure going to be less than $35,000 from the original vote? This is the number one question I see all the time. Whatever happened to the ramp that they
Right.
voted for? Right.
Right, so we've spent some of that money on getting information together for his pricing, some engineering and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But the majority of that money is left, so whatever figure he comes up to will be added to the remainder of the first article.
Okay, so if they come back and say it's $90,000 and you have 27,000 left from over, you'll just subtract off it. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because I'd hate to have that discussion at town meeting. They're going to say, what happened to the original expenditure?
Right.
So,
Just to
Right,
be
then.
clear, it isn't just the ramp, it's that whole portico porch.
Yep,
Right.
And everything has to be supported, so it becomes more complicated. That's why nobody wants to bid on it.
yeah.
Right.
I just didn't want to open that can of worms without knowing a little bit more details.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Currently, we're not ADA
Yeah.
compliant,
yeah.
so
All right, let's see, A36, let's go down to that one.
8:35. So 8:35, I skipped Charlie because I didn't get a submission for sealing and repaving and restriping the town hall.
Right, because all that was Scott had mentioned it to me in the last few weeks as a possible project. So if you
Okay.
just, could you pass over it and we'll see if
So,
we get anything.
all right, I do have it in there, town hall parking lot repairs, but there's no money, so I would
Yeah.
again suggest we hold that.
Right, so
Money.
we're skipping
So
30.
then 8:36.
8:35. So down to A36, and that reads, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $11,000 to repair and replace the roof at the Holmes Public Library, or take any action relative thereto. Well, that's a lot cheaper than the elementary school.
That's
Yeah,
for sure.
There's been a leak in that roof for quite a while. They've finally found where it was coming from and have a price on repairing it. So that's what they're looking at.
Right, anybody else have any questions on that one? Then I'll make a motion to see if somebody wants to approve Article A36 as read in the amount of $11,000.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, let's do a roll call vote then. Joe,
yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Aye.
and myself is a yes. So A36 passes unanimously. A37, some more windows. Let's read this one. To Article A37, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $90,000 to replace the windows at the Halifax Town Hall or take any action relative thereto.
Okay. One thing I forgot to tell you with the windows, both with Pope's Tavern and with the town hall, is there is a chance we'll get partial reimbursement from Green Communities because these windows are in such bad shape, the heat and the air conditioning that goes out them, we're just blowing money right out the window. The window in my office next to my desk, actually, if we have a rain that is coming from the south,
Comes in.
I get water on my windowsill. I've recently stuffed my window with Kleenex because I've been getting those stink bugs in my office, like
Yeah.
three a day. So that's how bad the windows are. When Scott proposed this, he said he could do it half this year and half next year. So it'd be 45,000 this year. And then he said, but next year it could be more because prices are just going up. So I had actually suggested we put it all in 1 year. We do have a good level of free cash. So that's where we stand on those windows.
Yeah, and we should see some savings in electricity to kind of offset that. I know like with my house, I didn't have any, I had very little insulation in this house and they came out, Matt David did it, at like 75% their cost and my electric bill by like 2/3.
Yeah, I think you can get installation at 100% reimbursed by Matt Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right then. So I'd like to see if somebody would like to make a motion to approve Article A36 as, what is it, A37, sorry, A37 as read in the amount of $90,000.
So moved.
Second,
All right, let's do a roll call vote. Joe,
yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So A37 is a recommend. A38, the COA van. Let's read this one. Did I get the right one? Yep, okay. A38, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $73,000 to purchase a new council on aging van or take any action relative thereto.
Well, I mean, I probably mentioned it before, but I think, I mean, with this one, I think the best thing to do is plan for an electric council on aging van if it's the next, it's like the next town vehicle to be replaced. And I think, I mean, I've talked with Charlie about it and stuff. I think there might be a good chance we're going to have charging stations in Halifax, public charging stations in Halifax, maybe within the next 12 months, possibly. I don't know.
Do you know what they're, do you know anything about what they're looking for?
I mean, I've been talking with Charlie about looking at it myself, and then we've talked about like other options too. But I mean, and here too. But well, like they make the juice box charging station, so it's just an alternative to like the charge point that everybody has. But I mean, like the big towns like Lowell and stuff, they've got like a lot of charging stations already. But I think that's just all I have to say on this article.
Okay, what this is, what she priced out was a 15-passenger van.
Okay.
I do not believe, Drew, that it was electric, the prices that she had gotten. She did go out to bid, and when she presented this one, she said, I may not need it this year. I might be able to hold out until next year, but when she first became the COA director, she had brought the older van down to the town mechanic, and he basically said, this is not safe to drive on the roads because there's so much rot. So the town mechanic said, this one is the one that she's trying to replace now is also going that way. There's a lot of rot already on it. And Tom, do you remember, was it a 2013 she's replacing?
That sounds right to me, Sandy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we replaced the other van with hopefully COVID money.
Right.
So maybe our mistake was probably we should have tried to get both of them for COVID money.
Yeah. But she said it might be able to last another year, but there's no guarantees, and she'd hate to be without a van. But she said she would understand if we had to hold it off again. I thought that we probably should go ahead with it. The capital planning voted to recommend it. So it's up to you guys.
Well, I can see Drew's point of maybe inquiring if there is an option for hybrid or electric and seeing what the price difference is. I mean, if we're not talking like, substantial money, that might be the way to go. I don't know. Does anybody else have any thoughts one way or the other? At one point they need the van, so I don't want to deny them and say,
Right.
But at the same time, I'd certainly like to have the option, at least them to take a look at it to see
Right.
if this is a viable option to go.
Is it something worth just holding off and seeing if they can get some pricing in the next 2 weeks or so?
We could probably try that. Charlie, do you know if there's anything that would suit the purpose that maybe is on the state bid list or anything?
I don't know offhand, but I can certainly look.
All right, so that's something we could look into if you want to hold this article.
I don't have a problem holding it because, again, I kind of agree with Drew that, I mean, like our police cars, they're going hybrid, so we should.
So we're not the van.
Yeah, so we should at least make an attempt to go there. I mean, if the pricing is completely crazy, that's a whole different story. But I think we should at least do the due diligence, at least getting the pricing, the pricing difference on that. So if nobody else has a complaint,
I'll talk to Sue.
Hold that one for now. We can circle back that again. I got a little bit of time on that. So, okay, let's go down to.
So 39 is a duplicate. So you want to go to A40.
A40. Okay, let's read A40. Yep, okay. A40, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $10,000 to hold a series of workshops for department heads concerning personnel practices, including recruitment and hiring issues during employment and proper procedures related to discipline and termination, or take any action related thereto.
Right, so we've talked about this, not so much with the finance committee, but internally for a number of years. We have department heads who don't handle personnel matters on a daily basis. They don't hire people, they don't have to discipline and terminate people, for instance. They don't, it's not their specialty. You know, they have an office, they have a department to run. We have people out in the field, for instance, rather than desk jockeys, et cetera. So they're not specializing in this. The idea with this series of workshops is they get a bit more familiar with the process that they should be following for the various phases of having employees in the department. And I think also just as important is to know when to ask questions and not just jump and do something because they feel they have to do something. To say, okay, whether it's me, whether it's Michael Gilman, who's our labor and personnel attorney, or it's some state agency or whoever, our insurer for that matter, that they get some confidence and some education about personnel matters. And I've tried getting grants through Maya, which is our insurer, for a few years, and it just never fits exactly what they're looking for, because I'm covering some areas that aren't what Maya would worry about in terms of claims and such. So I want to do it internally. We would bring in a consultant, do probably one workshop every month for 3 months for, let's say, half a day, so I don't get people, eyes glaze over type of thing. And I hope that by the end of that, have a better series of better educated department heads who can handle the personnel matters better.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions for Charlie?
No.
All right then. I'd like to see if somebody would like to make a motion to approve A40 as read in the amount of $10,000.
So moved.
Second,
All right, do a roll call vote then. Joe,
yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
myself is a yes. So A40 is recommended.
Uh,
What's A41? That's a hold for information.
Yes, let's see, 841. Yes, so that's, again, it's basically what it says. We're looking to find out, Charlie's going to try to find out how much it will cost, but to bring a gas line into the town hall, right now we have oil burners. And with the price of oil fluctuating the way it does, and right now going up, it would be more efficient to have gas burners and to use natural gas.
So,
But currently we have no gas line.
right, so you'd be two things would happen. Gas tends on a per therm basis to be cheaper than oil. Second is, the only way we can put a gas furnace in there, which will be more efficient than an oil furnace is that we have, that's probably about 8 or 10 years old at this point, would be to get the gas line in there. Putting in a new heating system and such would be eligible for green communities grants, but not bringing the line in. The state won't fund that, but they will fund an improved energy efficient boilers and such. So this is sort of a step towards that. We are applying for green communities grants this spring, not for boilers at the town hall, but for other equipment and lighting and weatherization. But then the following year, next spring, we could apply for the boilers. So it's a first step, and I have no idea how much it would cost. I'm not even sure who I asked, but I want, if you could just hold that over, and if I don't have a number in a couple of weeks, I don't, and we just pass over it.
All right, so we do have a number for A42 of 40,000. So let me read this. to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of $40,000 to purchase and install a generator for Halifax Town Hall or take any action relative thereto. All right, so what do we
All
have
right.
about this one?
So this came up, it was actually proposed by the highway surveyor. There was some concern about the phone system because we did get a new phone system in town hall that runs through the computers. And there was a fear that if the power went out at town hall, then we would have no phone service. And this phone service is also used at the police station and the highway department. So they were afraid they would have no phones. So they wanted to put in a generator at the town hall to keep the servers running. We've since found out that there's actually, if we lost power at town hall and the wires were still up, if the wires weren't down, that there is a virtual switch that that Caesar in data processing, he would just switch it so the phones work directly through Comcast. They wouldn't have to go through the town servers. So there's really not a need to keep them running. We also thought that if we were eventually going to get a generator for town hall, it'd be better to do it once the gas line is in, so that it would run on natural gas and not on oil, because that's a very high number, $40,000, but that's about what it cost for an oil burning or gas burning generator. And the director of building maintenance says there's a lot of maintenance to keep these things in good shape. And where if there was no power at town hall, the employees probably wouldn't be there anyways.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
was really more for the phone system is why it was being proposed. And we have been assured that our phone system will work without the servers up and running. And that especially the police has the redundancy of going through the our dispatch service. Anything else, Charlie, that I missed on that one?
No, you've got to complete.
Okay.
Okay,
So that's why the capital planning did not recommend that.
okay. All right, anybody else have any questions? Okay, so what we'll do here is I'll make a motion for A42 in the amount, as read, in the amount of $40,000, and then you can vote yea or nay. I'd like to make a motion. Would somebody like to make a motion for A42 as read in the amount of $40,000?
So moved.
Do I have a
Is
second?
this the generator?
Yeah.
We just need to do the votes. We just need to make the motion so we can vote, so.
Very good.
Okay, so then we'll do a roll call vote. Joe, A or nay, yes or no?
No.
Okay. Cheryl, yes or no?
No.
Deborah, you're,
No,
no, okay. Lauren? All right.
John.
Drew, yes or no?
No.
And myself as a no. So A42 is a do not recommend from the Finance Committee. Okay, A43 I see is purchase streetlights, but we don't have an amount, so that's hold for
I
information.
do this every year and I never have the time to work.
I
it out.
know, Charlie.
So
This is
leave it on there. If I get something done during the next few weeks, see.
okay. All right, so then let's move down to A45. Let's adjust my spreadsheets and stuff. Yep, okay. A45 reads, to see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $2,500 to purchase 3 new computers, 2 for the public, 1 for the staff, at the Holmes Public Library or take any action relative thereto.
So several years ago, the library came to us. They wanted to buy 16 computers. We said, oh, what are you doing? We want you to buy them a few at a time so that you're all just rotating. This is part of that plan. So she needs 3 this year.
Right. I remember the plan, and she had some
Yep.
last year, and she had some.
Last year before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions on this?
Just on a side note, when you're looking at the warrant, it shows it as 25,000 with the comma in the wrong place. So there's an extra zero in there,
Oh,
Charlie.
yeah,
You,
that's like 25,000.
That's all 16 computers.
we're getting gaming computers.
We will fix that.
Nice. I'm going to the library more often then. All right. Okay, then, so
Good
on
call.
that note, would somebody like to make a motion on A45 as read in the amount of $2,500?
So moved.
Or a second? Let's do a roll call vote then. Joe
Yes.
and Cheryl
Yes.
and Deborah
Yes.
and Drew
Yes.
and Lawrence back.
Yes.
And myself is a yes. So A45 is a recommend. And then the last one, which doesn't have a number, is that typical, the Plymouth County retirement, which I guess we're holding for information, right, Charlie?
That's the housing authority money, Charlie.
Again, I haven't talked to the housing authority since September about this, so I may just pull it, just to not even, I still need to work with the retirement system and such, so.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments, questions regarding the budget?
We do have two
articles.
articles already for the special town meeting, but I
Oh,
think
cool.
we can wait on those until we have the final entry for the special town meeting.
Okay,
Okay,
sure. All right, then, in that case, let's move on to see if anybody has, if we have any public participation or anything else that they want to talk about tonight. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? No, it looks like everybody wants to go home. So in that case, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee at 7:28 PM tonight?
So moved.
Second.
For a second. Okay, then I will do a roll call vote. And Joe
Yes.
and Cheryl
Yes.
and Deborah
Yes.
and Drew
Yes.
and Lauren
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So I'll see everybody next Monday. You have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. See you
Thanks.
next.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
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 Well,
Bye.